Blind Abilities presents assistive technology instructor Hi Cohen.
It became a serious issue, and the neighbor had the attitude of, well, my dog has always been loose. It's always been the neighborhood dog, and it wasn't a problem until I got my guide dog. So ended up being that I was the problem, not his loose dog. And I put together Layla's Law. Well, somehow I managed to get it passed in about 2.5 months' time. For me as an instructor, teaching iPhone is a little bit easier usually because if Android, there are so many different versions of Android. Every company has their own proprietary differences. For me as an instructor, at least, teaching iPhone is much easier because it's all the same no matter what you're using.
He's a husband, he's a father, he's a guide dog owner, and he's an Aira Explorer.
If you come across as not being sure yourself, a potential employer is going to see that also. So you got to have that confidence.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter @blindabilities, and download our free Blind Abilities app from the App Store. That's 2 words, Blind Abilities. Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. Today we're talking to Hi Cohen, and he's a technology instructor out in Stockton, California. How are you doing, Hi?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on to Blind Abilities, taking some time out of your day and sharing your story with us.
And thank you for having me on.
You're a technology instructor. Can you explain what you do on a daily basis?
Well, my job is primarily doing teaching as well as assessing clients who are visually impaired or blind on various adaptive technologies. First thing we do is a new client comes in, either from the State Department of Rehabilitation or from other agencies or personally. The first thing we do is we try to figure out what types of adaptive technology is going to best meet the individual's needs. Once we figure that out, then we start training them on how to use it. So that's anything from Windows or Mac, or using an iPhone or Android phone, doing internet, Microsoft Office, you name it, we can pretty much teach anything here.
Do you have students for a certain period of time or until they reach their objective?
It's almost always until they reach their objectives. So for some clients, that's just 10 hours of training and they're done. They already have existing skills and all they need to do is supplement those skills. And for other people who are maybe have other disabilities or not as quick to catch on to technology, time can go on for some time. But at the end of the day, they all meet their goals. And that's what's important, is to get people so they're able to live independent, successful lives.
I couldn't help but I follow your Twitter, and I saw the other day that you were using Aira glasses and you went through a pile of papers or some documents in 3 times as fast using Aira glasses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Aira glasses are a technology that uses smart glasses that connects to a live agent who has been trained to help people who are vision impaired or blind, so that basically act as their eyes. So that's using them from anything from traveling from one place to another, to reading bills, to reading menus at a restaurant, describing things to you. So that's what that technology does. And I see on the internet, people use it for various things. And, I live a pretty simple life, I think, although some people might consider my life kind of interesting. I have my little niches for where I use it at. I use it at work for certain things, and I also use it at home. A lot of times it's helping with my 6-year-old daughter with homework or reading her a story and that kind of stuff.
Instant access to information.
Yes, definitely.
I like that. And it's a real person on the other line.
Yes, and it's amazing. There are other blindness techniques that I've used, all my life. And there's other technologies out there that I could often accomplish these tasks. But having a service like Aira, it allows me in some cases to do that task either easier or faster. And there are some times where it's information that I would not otherwise get. Like a while ago, my daughter wanted me to read her a book, and my braille is not that great. I can read it, but I'm not that fast at it. And so I said, okay, well, I'll try Aira with this. And so I got the Aira glasses on, and the agent read to me the story. I repeated it back. And not only that, but the agent was actually telling me what my daughter was pointing at, what she was talking about, so that I could react to what she was pointing at. And without having a side help, that's something I could not do with any other technology. So in that case, that's something that only Aira could have done for me, other than having somebody sighted standing next to me tell me that information.
That's really neat because, the information was there. She was pointing at something and they related to you and you could describe it. That's great.
Yeah.
Tell me about a little bit of your past. You have a guide dog, or you had a guide dog back in the turn of this century, 2000 area, and you ran into a problem with other dogs. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, I am still a guide dog user. I'm on guide dog number 4, hard to believe, but number 4 now. And my first guide dog that I received back in 1997, her name was Layla, a black Labrador. And in my neighborhood, I was still living at home with my mom and going to local community college and doing some volunteer work at different places. We lived in a cul-de-sac. And for me to get out of the cul-de-sac to go anywhere, I had to go out past one side of the street because the other side of the street didn't have any sidewalks on it. So I had no choice but to go past this one particular corner. Well, the problem was the neighbor had a dog that they liked to let loose. And that dog would often either attack or harass Layla. And it got to the point where Layla was extremely skittish about going even near where that dog was. So especially if a dog was out, there were times where it got to the point where I was stuck. I couldn't even go home at times. Now, luckily, my grandparents live fairly close by, so I can go there. And there were times where she just would not either let me leave my house or return home. So it became a serious issue. And the neighbor had the attitude of, well, my dog has always been loose. It's always been the neighborhood dog. And it wasn't a problem until I got my guide dog. So it ended up being that I was the problem, not his loose dog.
Really?
Yeah, so we end up going to the police department and trying to deal with police and animal control. I got different responses from them, usually anything from them telling me, well, you're blind, so we're not going to take a police report from you because you can't see. And I told them, well, I do have a little bit of sight. I can tell a dog is a, light brown colored dog. I can tell, most importantly, it comes from a certain yard every time. And even more important than that, the neighbor comes out and calls the dog by name. Come, Brittany. The dog responded to the name Brittany. So if the dog responds to the name Brittany, we all know the dog's name must be George. And the police chief, we just don't have a law to protect me. So that's interesting. So I went and looked into it. I knew nothing about reading law or anything like that, but I'm a quick study. So I looked it up. Well, we have at-large ordinances in the city, which I thought we'd plenty to deal with it, but the police department didn't think so. So I went to my local state senator, and we told me to start researching, and so I did. And I put together Layla's Law, which is a guide dog and a service animal criminal law that protect guide dogs and service dogs from interference, injury, disability, or for a person to exert what's called unauthorized control. In other words, theft of a guide dog.
And that law passed.
The law passed. Now, when I did the law originally, I started working on it, I was told by staff it would take, about 5 years if the legislature even liked my idea. Well, somehow I managed to get it passed in about 2.5 months' time and with a 100% vote. And if you know anything about politics, not very often you get Democrats, Republicans agreeing on anything. And I got that law passed at 100% vote. It went on to be considered model law in the United States. There's versions of it in, for example, Florida. They call it Scanner's Law after a local guide dog there. It's still called Layla's Law in South Carolina. And there are other states that have also used it to either pass it directly or use it to get it done.
Oh, that's great. You never thought it'd go that far that fast, did you?
No, I was totally new to politics. I knew nothing about politics, legislative process, other than what I learned in high school. And I had opposition from it. People strongly opposing what I was doing, and I had to deal with that. One minute it'd be like, it's going to go through. Next time, no, it's not going to go through. And I had to deal with all that. And at the end of the day, the law got passed. So it's still in the books today in Washington State. And I'm glad I was able to deal with a situation in a positive fact. I think it's easy for people just to feel sorry for themselves, especially when you have other disabilities going on and other issues. And my perspective is you can feel sorry for yourself all you want, but it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't change anything. So if you don't like something that's going on, try to change it. I learned at a very young age that one person really can make a difference. That's something that I've taken on now that I'm older now and apply that to the rest of my life. So.
Well, great. That's you took the bull by the horns there. You actually took charge. I can't imagine what the neighbors thought when all of a sudden they saw that law was passed.
Yeah.
So good for you. Good for you for taking on the initiative, taking on the challenge of doing it. You'd never done it before, and you did it. So a lot of people and the whole nation basically benefits from it because it's on the books. You're right. So, hi. How long have you been teaching?
I have been teaching assistive technology, off and on for many years. Since early 2000s, I worked with the volunteer, worked with blind and visually impaired children. So I've been doing it off and on for years. Doing it as a career, I've been doing that now for about 6.5 years. And the funny thing is I came to doing it by accident. I was down here, moved to California. My wife is from here. So I moved to California. And at first I was trying to get a piano tuning business going, and the economy at the time back in 2010 was not that great down here in California, so wasn't very successful at that. So I was going to go back to college and change my career again. Department of Rehab down here sent me to get the assistive technology assessment done, which is what I do today. I went to a company that sent me down to San Francisco to have an assessment done. And about 2 hours into the assessment, the owner of the company was basically offering me a job to teach AT. So I never even considered it to be a possible career, and started there. And now I'm over at the Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired teaching it. And I've been now here almost 5 years now.
Yeah. What would you suggest for people who are looking to transition from high school to college to the workplace, PC or Mac?
I'm a user of both, actually. So until, probably a couple of years ago, I was primarily a PC user because that's where most of the AT was, right? So you really had one option. It was PC. On that, there's a wide variety. And, it's kind of like asking me, what's better, like white cane or a guide dog? Well, the answer is it depends. And PC and Mac are the same thing. It depends. If you have any experience with one or the other, what your personal preferences are, what are you going to be doing for a career? I think still nowadays businesses are still primarily PC based. Because of that, I think the majority of people still should be, in more cases than not, lean toward PC because of that. But, when you're in school, in college, it doesn't really matter, Mac or PC. But I think it's good to start getting the skills that you'll use actually in the workforce in 3 or 4 years.
How about for a smartphone? Would you suggest a iPhone or Android?
Once again, it depends. Android has its advantages. It's lower cost than iPhone in most cases. So if you're on a budget, iPhones are pretty expensive. In that case, hey, Android's great. There's a screen reader available for it. There's a screen application available for it. Plenty of apps out there. I think, as far as variety of apps, I think still the iPhone has its advantage in that area. But slowly but surely, Android is catching up. I mean, for me as an instructor, teaching iPhone is a little bit easier usually because if Android, there are so many different versions of Android. Every company has their own proprietary differences. And for me as an instructor, at least, teaching iPhone is much easier because it's all the same no matter what you're using.
Exactly. What advice would you give to someone who is transitioning from high school to college or to the workplace? What advice would you give them?
Always do your best. Put your best foot forward. Being blind and visually impaired, we have great laws in the books now that protect us from discrimination. But, unfortunately, discrimination still exists. And we have, kind of a barrier to jump over. Yeah, it might take us longer to find a job that we like, but you can't give up. There was years I was unemployed, and I never gave up. And eventually, I found a job. I now work full time. I'm married. I have a child at home that we adopted from foster care. We have another child we're fostering right now, a baby boy. He's 12 months old. We'll be adopting him pretty soon. It is possible. If I can do it, I know anybody can do it. You just keep going and have that positive attitude. Sell yourself. You can't feel sorry for yourself. And if you come across as not being sure of yourself, a potential employer is going to see that also. So you got to have that confidence and to do what you want. I tell people, the only thing I can't do right now is drive a car. And pretty soon I'll be able to do that too. Blindness is just a barrier. And it's usually the people around us that make our disability worse than what it actually is. It's getting past that and learning for yourself what works for you.
Now, you mentioned you use the Aira glasses to read a book to your daughter. What's it like being, someone with vision loss and having children?
It's an adventure. We actually, with our current foster child, we were assigned a social worker from CPS. And we were first placed with him. We went to go pick him up, and the social worker was acting kind of funny. And about 3 days later, she was over at our house. I wasn't home, but my wife was. And she was telling my wife that she was considering taking the child away from us because I was blind. And how could I change the baby's diaper and take care of a child? Yeah, my wife's a little bit faster changing diaper than I am, but diapers still get changed and the child still gets fed. And I take care of the baby, by myself quite often. And it's challenging. You have to learn little tricks. Like with my daughter when she was a little bit younger, we got her when she was about 3 years old. And so I would put little jingle bells on her shoes so I'd be able to hear where she was at in the house. So it's just learning different techniques on what works. And now I have Aira, so I can use that as another tool. I take her to a park and have the Aira agent help me locate where she's at. If she's deciding to play, not answer me where she's at. So I always tell her, when I call you guys, respond back to me so I know where you're at. Sometimes, she's 6, so sometimes 6-year-olds like to play games, and that game's it's not so funny. So before I had to go around trying to find her, and now I can just ask the agent, hey, where's she at? And they can tell me. So at least that way I know she's safe. So, but, being a blind parent, it's a different challenge. But just like everything, there's always a way to do it. And you just got to be creative. And, I'm lucky. I work at a place where we teach independence and these skills. So I can come up with an idea. I know there's a coworker that might have an idea that I can go to and say, hey, how do you do this? Also, I think being friends with other blind parents who have either raised kids or raising kids, we all share ideas with each other. And I learned a few things from some of my blind friends, including the jingle bell trick. I wouldn't even think about that. And it was a friend of mine that had a grandchild, and she used to have jingle bells on her shoes. And I asked her, why'd you do that? So I could tell where she was. Okay. So I took that skill from there. So, I think it's important that we all share with each other different ways of adapting.
Well, that's great. It seems like you've done a lot, from getting the Layla law, getting that passed, getting that initiated, adopting children. That's just interesting. Congratulations on all that.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, being a parent, and that's really quite the commitment. A lot of unknowns are ahead of you as they keep getting older.
Oh, definitely. I am lucky. My wife, she's sighted. She's a preschool teacher. My wife helps me out some, but I'm also very independent, and I think it's important that no matter what tools we have or don't have, that we use our creativity. Things out there, yes, not everybody can afford a great tool like Aira at this point, but there are other ways of getting things done, and it just takes some creativity. You can accomplish your dream. I certainly have done that. I'm no millionaire by any means. The bills get paid. I have a happy family at home, and that's what's important in life.
And the blindness doesn't get you out of changing diapers.
I know it does. I wish it was. Sometimes I really wish it would.
Well, hi. Is there anything else you would like to tell the Blind Abilities listeners?
I think, I have had a very interesting life, and, very fulfilling. Challenges all over the place. There are times where I'm like, how am I going to get through this? And times where I've felt really sorry for myself, honestly, not being able to see. I've always been legally blind. My sight has gotten worse throughout the years. but it's constantly trying to adapt to that changing vision, and always constantly trying to adapt to it. But I think overall, having a positive attitude, I think that's the most important key to, at least for me, and being willing to be creative, thinking outside the box. I think those two things have helped me most be successful in life and what I've accomplished in my life.
So, hi, if there's listeners in the Stockton, California area, how can they get a hold of your place of employment?
Community Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired is located at 2453 Grand Canal Boulevard, Suite 5, Stockton, California, 95207. Our phone number is 209-466-3836. Our website address is www.communitycenterfortheblindandvisuallyimpaired.org.
And if they want to get a hold of yourself, how would they do that?
They can either contact me at work at extension 209. My work email is hyc@communitycenterfortheblind.org, or you can also reach me on my personal account, which is Cohen, HYCOHEN @outlook.com.
And I follow you on Twitter.
Twitter is at Cohen, HYCOHEN.
Well, great. I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy listening to what you've done, your accomplishments, and thank you for sharing your story.
And thank you for having me on. It's been a great privilege. Thank you, Jeff.
It was fun talking to Cohen, learning about his advocacy, the building of his family, his teaching, his instruction, his Explorer stories. And a big thank you to Chichao for your beautiful music. That's El Chichao on Twitter. We hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening, and until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see
through each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the reality of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.